rolling on both?
We're rolling. No, not yet.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you going to be sitting there?
Yeah.
Why? Alright, you don't want to do work over there. No, it's fine.
No, it's fine.
1, 2. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Actors Waiting Room podcast, and a very happy new year to you all. We've got one camera and a second camera, which is a bit high tech for me, but Jay thought it would be a good idea to have 2 camera setup, which is honestly a little bit daunting having the 2 there. But anyway, I will just grow up and deal with it. So I hope you've had a lovely Christmas or whatever you ended up doing, and New Year's. I hope it was a restful time for you all. Just recharged a bit. And just got back into the January months, which it's very tough. I can say it can be tough. It's very tough. When we take down like the Christmas lights and things like that, everyone can feel a little bit deflated or not, depends how you are. But January is always a bit of a difficult month, I think, for just anyone in particular. January, February, just until we hit the spring. So yeah. So today we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions, and I know what you're thinking. Am I just going to bombard you with a load of goal setting, how to achieve certain things? The answer is no, because I am also working out how to set goals for myself that I'm actually going to be able to achieve this year. So that's what we're going to end up doing. So we're going to set some goals in I want to say the right way for me, I suppose, but I'm hoping it's the right way for a few people as well. But yes, we're going to try and set some more manageable goals that we can stick to and actually achieve throughout the year, rather than setting a crap load of big ones that are kind of a little bit unachievable, but also you end up like burning out before you've even achieved all of them. So that's what we're going to aim to do in the episode today. So grab yourself a hot drink or cold drink, whatever you like, and let's get into the episode. Okay, January. Such a big thing to just sort of like dive straight into. Yeah, January and their expectations are mad. Like, I think they're actually crazy. Like, they're just sometimes just a bit too much. Like, I think the world goes a bit mad in January, and you can feel the momentum sort of shift once you've done your New Year's Day, because you might be a little bit hungover, or you're just still taking that nice chilled attitude into the new year. But then when it hits January 2nd, you can feel this momentum where everyone is like, go, go, go. We've had 2 weeks or a week or however long you've had of overindulging, resting. Everyone feels guilty that they've like drank too much, ate too much, or whatever it is. And now they get to January and they're like, right, that's it. And we're going to cut out everything. This is where I just think I think it's silly. I think it's silly to just sort of like shoot yourself in the foot straight away by just cutting out absolutely everything. And I know it depends on your goals and things like that, but you do feel, and I felt it as well this year, I was like, right, I need to get going, I need to get sorted. And then I thought, no, hold on for a sec and just chill the fuck out. Like, chill out. We don't need to be racing to the end of the year already. Like, I think that's what we feel. We feel like we need to just like get going and set all these goals, and you're decluttering the house, you're changing the wardrobe, you're like scrubbing the walls, you're like, oh, I'm going to start the gym, oh, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, oh, I'm going to also diet and calorie count, oh, I'm going to start this skill, I'm going to learn a language, I'm going to start emailing loads of casting directors, I'm going to make up a spreadsheet on an audition list. All of these things like come into our brain because we've had 2 weeks of like shut down, or a week of shut down, depending on like what you've been doing. But everyone feels guilty, so they go on like 100 miles an hour. It's just crazy. I think as well we should have a slow start to January. I think January, because we feel this big momentum coming up, being like we have to do everything, it kind of goes against like the nature of January, if that makes sense. And I know people are going to be like, oh, she's getting a bit spiritual, she's getting a bit into nature, but just bear with me for a sec, is that January is still the middle of the winter. It's dark outside, it's cold. I feel as humans, we're not supposed to be running around left, right and center in January. I feel like as the seasons come, that's how we should behave, like within our lives. I know like some things are a little bit unachievable. Like if you've got kids and a family and you've got no choice but to be like, right, the kids have got to have this and we've got to go to school and bam, 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 bam. But for us that are like maybe, a little bit, in our 20s that haven't got the major commitments yet, we can afford to take a little bit slower. I mean, even if you do have a lot of responsibilities anyway, maybe try and be kinder to yourself in the month of January and be like, yeah, it's dark outside. We're going to just take it a little bit easy. We're going to maybe sleep in a little bit, or we're going to go to bed a bit earlier. We're just going to take care of ourselves first in January, because January for me now is the slow start, like the slow progression of the year. We're slowly waking up into the year. And I think that's when people might get a little bit depressed in January and Feb, because they go, oh, I've done all this stuff, but I still feel like crap. Well, if we took care of ourselves a little bit better, because usually this is the time where people get like colds and flus and they feel a bit run down, because I think people try and over push themselves for where we're actually at with the season. I know that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but I really do believe in that this year. So this year I have basically had a little look on 2025. In the Christmas episode, the last episode that I did in 2025, I mentioned that I didn't set myself any goals in 2025. And that was just a personal thing. Like particularly had a bit of a rough year in 2024, and 2025 was also just like the start of 2025, I should say, was just a bit more difficult for me personally with all of I had like a few like family issues and things like that to like work through, and there was just bits and bobs going on in my life that I felt miserable, to be honest with you. I felt really miserable. I felt unmotivated. I was unhappy in 2024. And so I thought, why is 2025 going to be any better? And yeah, okay, that's a bit negative, Grace, but that's just how I felt at the time. So I said, you know what? I'm actually just going to not set any goals for myself this year. And at first, I just didn't care. But actually, as I got throughout the year, there were obviously pros and cons to doing this. The first thing, it meant that I didn't really have much structure to my year, which was difficult. But at the same time, it meant that I was able to sort of pick and choose when I decided to do things. And me being like I think they call it like a type A person who's quite like overly prepared, organized, likes things done in a certain way, that was very unusual to me to have that type of a year where I went, okay, I'll just decide in the month what I'm going to go work on or whatever. I didn't set myself goals. I just was like, oh, okay, I need to refresh my driving skills. So I actually, halfway through the year, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go get some refresher lessons because I've already passed my test, but I just hadn't driven in like 8 years because I moved to London and then just didn't touch a car for like 8 years. And so then I thought, oh, I'll just go and do that. And then I went on to the next thing and I went on to the next thing. And I actually found myself having far less stress last year than when I used to set a lot of goals and a lot of like kind of big, some would argue like unachievable goals, and some goals that were like backed up one another to each other. And I think that's when I kind of get demotivated because I get more tired more easily and I get more burnt out quicker. So I wasn't able to stick to them. So that was interesting. The other thing that I learned as well by not doing goals in 2025 was that I am an all or nothing type of person, which is such a big epiphany to me. Like, and maybe others from the outside will go, well, of course, that's you. You're definitely an all or nothing type of person. But that really doesn't help when setting goals. Like, it's a major problem actually, because you then go, okay, the goal is to work out more. Okay, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week and I'm going to do heavy weights. Then I'm going to do cardio straight afterwards. I make sure that I do at least an hour of a workout like for those 5 days. And then before I know it, it's been a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. I'm a little bit burnt out because of all my other stuff that's going on. I also tend to get like a cold or a flu if I like just jump into something really quickly. And then you kind of get demotivated and then you don't carry on and then just didn't go with the goal. And I do that with everything. Like whenever I set a goal, I used to be like, right, we're going to nail it. We're going to do it like an intense amount of time and we're going to start doing it like this. And then actually it just doesn't work that way. So that was a massive learning curve for me in 2025. And it actually made me feel better about setting goals this year, because it meant that I had more time than I realized. I think people think that you run out of time very quickly. And I know the busier you are, the year does run really quickly. But if you try not to put so much pressure and goals on yourself, you'll realize that you do actually have time to achieve them, because you've not overwhelmed yourself with the amount of goals that you have to achieve in a certain time period. So that was my sort of epiphany from 2025. The other thing that I found really interesting as well is that you can only do one thing a day for your career. You can do more if you want to. Like, that's not me saying that you have to only do one thing a day, but because I was this all or nothing type of personality, the thought of just doing like one thing for my acting career a day, and people might say like, Grace, you can do more than that. Well, being an actor means that you have a full-time day job, which I do. You obviously have life commitments. You also want to like make sure that you've worked out that day. I do anyway. You know, you've got cooking, cleaning, all of those things to think of and do. And then obviously then people are like, you have to go do stuff for your acting career as well on top of those things. And I used to think doing one thing a day was pointless, but actually it's not. It's just not. Like, if you did one thing a day for your career every single day this year, I can bet you will achieve more than what you do like 3, 4, 5 things a day and burn yourself out. And then you have to have a couple of weeks off because you feel a bit overwhelmed and stressed about just maybe the industry and things like that. So that was like a really big thing, is that just take it steady. And if you can't do so much in that day, that's okay. Like, that's totally fine to just go, yeah, I'm actually like shattered today. Like, I've worked a full-time day job. Some people like work on their feet all day. Like maybe you've caught the flu or something like that, or you've got a cold, or, you know, maybe you just want a bit of a day off because you're just tired. You've had auditions that week, or whatever you've had. That's okay. You can have the day off and then go, we'll just try again tomorrow. Like, and for me, that was quite a scary thing to let go of, to be like, but what if tomorrow I wake up and I still don't want to do it? But if you did one thing, then you've done one thing that day. And that makes it so much better, because then when you look over the week, you go, okay, I've done 7 things for my career this week. That's pretty good. Like, that's really good. So that was my take home from 2025. So what we're going to try and do now is we're going to try and set goals together so that we don't burn out, and we stick to them. And hopefully that's the plan for myself as well. Like, I'm going to keep myself accountable this year as well. So how have I done that this year? So I think that January is going to be a slow build. We're going to slowly start to get ourselves ready for our acting career this year. That's how I'm playing it this year. Because obviously last year I set no goals, and the previous year I set probably too many goals. So now we're doing like a halfway in between of being like, okay, we're going to set some goals, but we're not going to go mad in January, and we're going to slowly start to get ready. One of the things that I like to do in January and February, just like as an actor in general, is it's a really good time to reflect on like your spotlight CV, your show reels, your headshots, all of those things. It might be that they're all absolutely fine, but for me this year, my show reel needs updating. I need a new scene. And I know the type of scene that I want, because I already have like quite a dramatic monologue, but I really would like a very easygoing two-hander with a, you know, like a best friend on a bench situation where we're just chatting about, it's funny, it's easy, like just chatting about shit basically, but it will be better than that, I'm hoping. So I know that I need to get that done. Another thing that I know that I need to get done is I need to get my voice reel again put together, and that needs to be updated, and just I need to have a better voice reel again. So I'm going to slowly start to build up these things just so that I'm ready for when the industry opens up again properly, like it does usually around, well, February. There is some bits and bobs, but like the industry slowly starts to really open up in like the end of the winter, early spring, I feel. So in this time when the industry is quiet, maybe don't fire off all the emails to casting directors and things like that. You still could, that's absolutely fine. But I do think it's a time to just get yourself ready for the year, whatever that may mean to you. So we're going to try and set some goals now, trying to stick to this like looking after ourselves, try not to burn out, situation that I'm trying to build for myself. This is just kind of how I've done it this year, so we will see if it works or not. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to recap on 2025. I know that this episode will be coming out, just before the middle of January, and you might have already set your goals, but that's okay. If you want to have a look over them again, guess what? You can. Just because the first week of January has gone doesn't mean that you can't set goals or anything else for yourself. Just going to preface that out there for people that think, well, I've already set my goals, I can't go back and do it again. Yeah, you absolutely can. Do you know what? You could also start setting your goals in February as well. You could do it in July. You can do it whenever the frick you want, basically. So what I did is I recapped on 2025, a really good exercise to do because our memory is, well, I say my memory is pretty bad actually. I think you forget a lot of what's happened in 2025. There'll be like key moments for you, successes, failures, whatever it is for you, they will stick out like sore thumbs to you, but all the other little things in between, you do forget. So what I did was Mel Robbins, who has her own fantastic podcast and she's in charge of the Let Them theory. She has her own book and everything. Well, she has multiple books, but I saw on her podcast through TikTok that she does a 2025 recap where she looks back over her camera roll. So she basically opens up her phone, goes to the start of 2025 Jan and works her way through her camera roll, so that you can have a good refresh on what 2025 was like. I think you will be pleasantly surprised at how many things that happened, that you're glad that happened, that you've missed and that you've forgotten. And I think it's the perfect way to start 2026 is to recap and have a bit more, have a bit of closure on 2025 to just make sure that you've really sort of you've earmarked it, you've gone, that year is now done. But I feel like you can't do that unless you've properly had a look over that. So questions I like to ask myself were, what were the highlights of 2025? What were the lowlights of 2025? What we like to leave behind and what we want to take forward. You can add other things in there as well, like what have you learnt? Whatever questions you want to ask yourself for 2025 so that you have a closure of that year, you do you. But I think that was a really good exercise to do to recap 2025. There were so many things that I'd missed that I'd done, and I was really, really happy and to look back at them. It was a nice little surprise for myself, and I will be doing that every single year now. So thank you, Mel Robbins. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're not going to write and do this all in one go. Do you hear me? We're not going to do this all in one go because it's January. And we're doing this slowly, okay? Slowly. And also we want to do it in detail so that we are very specific about our goals and we're going to make a plan about how we're going to achieve them. No offense, but I don't think you can sit down for an afternoon and just bam it all out. I think it's good to do it over a couple of days. Day one, you're going to recap and you're going to write down those memorable moments, those achievements, whatever you've learned, whatever you want to take with you, whatever you want to leave behind. That's what you're going to do on day one, and you're going to take your sweet time with it, just so that you can really, really have a look at 2025 and have some closure there. Day two is going to be a mixture of writing down our goals, however you want to do this. I usually split them into goals for my career, which is acting, goals for my health, goals for my relationships, like family, my personal relationships with my friends, my partner, I usually just split them into those three. There are other things. You could have a category for finance. You could also have a category for mind, like mental health. But for me, that kind of blends into just the health category. But however many categories you want, do those. And you're going to write these goals. Now, these goals, again, need to be specific and they need to not be overwhelming. Be realistic with yourself. So one of my career goals for this year is to book a day player role on a TV series. Okay? That's not me going, I want to be a famous actor by the end of 2026. I want to have been in at least 3 films. If you do more, then that's great. But I always think that you need to be realistic about where you're at within your career and where you would like to be, what would be the next step for you. If it turmoils and goes better than that, great, you've exceeded your goals. And next year you can reevaluate on where you are again. But I think just be realistic with your goals. Another one for like my health choices. I want to like walk 3 times a week, and I want to also do weight training 3 times a week. They can be on the same days. I could double those up. I could go for a walk in the morning and then do weight training in the evening, whatever. But I've kept it to exercising 3 days a week. I know that I can stick to that, and that's reliable and that's consistent for me. If I want to do more workouts throughout the week, which I think I will end up doing, just because you get the momentum of it, you build the habit very slowly and it sticks with you and it's achievable and you don't burn out too quickly, then you'll do more. But I just think, again, evaluate where you are. If you're a person that already goes 3 times a week to the gym, walking, yoga, Pilates, whatever you do, maybe increase it to 4. Don't try and be like, oh, I'm going to exercise now every single day. Just pick your battles, I think, with what you want to do. The next thing that you're going to do for day 2 is you're going to think of some words of the year for yourselves. I would only probably pick 2 words for the year. Mine this year are going to be rebuild and strength. I think if you choose words, they become quite an active thing. And I think words actually do a lot, like in terms of like making you feel motivated. And that's not to say like just put these goals in a drawer and leave them. We will have to evaluate them over the year, but I do think picking maybe 2 to 3 words that will help sort of motivate you, that you want to, or that like want to encapsulate the whole year about what you want to do. Day 3 is then going to be planning out these goals in a bit more specific detail. This is the one that kind of takes the most amount of time, I think. So you're going to pick a goal. Let's pick my wanting to do a day player role on a TV series. Let's pick that goal. How are we going to achieve this? Okay, 1, what TV series do we want to be in? Is there a specific one, or is there a specific genre that we want to be in? For me, I think it would be like a dramedy, maybe, TV series. But we'll see. What have I been watching recently? I mean, I've rewatched Happy Valley recently. I would love to be in something like Happy Valley, okay? Or something like Broadchurch. Right, so we're going to have, on my step-by-step plan, we're going to have a look at more TV series that are like those. We're going to basically see what actors are doing those things, like the minor roles or the day player roles that you want to do. I'm going to write those down. I'm going to write down the casting director, the directors that are associated with them. I'm then going to go look for their current things, and I'm going to have a watch of their current things. I'm then going to collect some email addresses. I'm going to start writing to these. I'm also going to have a meeting with my agent to make sure that we're on the same page about what I would like to achieve this year. Make sure that you have very specific step-by-step plans about what you want to do. Do this for every single thing, every single goal that you have. And this is where I'm saying to you, don't bombard yourself and overwhelm yourself with goals, because they've all got to have this sort of plan. So try not to have like 10 different goals with 10 different like step-by-step plans. We're then also going to put in the calendar year when we're going to start doing these things. Guess what? You don't have to start doing these all in January. You don't have to start the weight loss, the working out, the eating better, the no alcohol, the furthering your career, the finance side to your goals. You don't have to start them all in January. You could start with maybe 2 goals, see how they're going for a bit, then add on another goal, then add on another goal as the months go by. So for my career goals, it's going to be, making sure that my spotlight and everything is up to date in order to basically get this day player role that I want to go and get. That means that my show reel is also going to have to be in keeping with the type of day player TV series that I want to go for. So then obviously we're going to put them in like date order, however you want to do them. And then we're also going to add in when we want to review things. So I've given myself a very wide berth of like reviewing this in March. So I'm going to stick for this career goal till March, and then we're going to check in, not to say that I have to have done it by March, but just to check in and be like, okay, where are we at with this? Have we got any responses from casting directors? Have we got any responses from directors? Has there been any auditions that have been tailored to what I want to do? Should I check in with my agent again? Should we work together on a different plan if it's not working? Just constantly evaluating where you're at throughout the year will also really help you. So rather than putting deadlines in for some of these goals, I would just put in when we like evaluate how we're doing. And you can put those in your calendar or planner or whatever you have, or if you put it on your iPhone calendar, on your tablet, laptop, whatever you end up doing. The next step is going to be adding in those evaluation dates. So I would usually put setting your plans out on day 3, like how you're going to, basically how you're going to achieve these goals on day 3. And then day 4, I would then go, right, okay, I've set out my plans, I know my goals, how I'm going to achieve them. Now in the next day, I would then have a look at my planner or however you track these goals, and I would then put in some review periods like I did for March. I'm going to review where I'm at with this. Is it working? Is it not? That's kind of the only thing that we really have to do, is just to evaluate it to see if it's working, essentially. Not have I hit it, stress out time, why haven't I hit it, let's go, overwhelm yourself, and then it just doesn't happen. So that's how I do it, and that's how we're going to do it this year. That's it. I'm not going to go too far over it. We're just going to see how the year goes on that. So I hope that that's not been too sort of like head heavy or work heavy or whatever. But I do think to achieve certain goals, you're going to have to do a bit of brain work. You're going to have to write down. You're going to have to plan. You're going to have to be specific. And then also you're going to have to make sure that these goals are realistic and that you can actually do them, because there's no point setting goals that you can never achieve, because that's just demotivating. Nobody wants that. The last thing I will say about goals is try not to compare your goals with other people's goals. This is really hard. And I think the only way people become derailed or demotivated, I think, is when other people are achieving their goals and you aren't, or it just hasn't happened for you yet. But also, people have different goals. We're no longer at school now where we all have the same exams, same subjects, and same sort of tiered monitoring marking system. We don't have that anymore. We just have your own goals. So try and just put the blinkers on and just try and just focus on just purely on yourself, and try not to compare to other people, because 1, it will derail you, but 2, you then won't be able to be happy for your friends and for your peers around you. And it's so important to be able to support one another and to cheer each other on. That is such a huge part of this. And as soon as you start doing that, I think a lot of the bitterness and the jealousy or whatever it is that you feel when maybe somebody books something that you haven't been able to book, and it just gets upsetting for you because you compare what you're doing to what they're doing. So that's my advice on that. And also, it derails you in another way. It makes you think that you have to work faster. Try not to compare, because then all of this lovely planning that we've done, one thing a day, slow and steady wins the race, so we're not burning out, so that we are more consistent. Trust your own process, because otherwise, as soon as you start seeing other people get their goals and you're wondering why you're not getting theirs, all this work goes out the window, and you're going to go like, right, I'm going to do what they do, and I'm going to do this, and this. You're going to be the all or nothing type of person, and we're desperately trying not to be that. Well, I am anyway. You listening might not be an all or nothing type of person. You might have figured it all out, but I definitely need to hear that. That's probably more for me. So that's going to be it. That's how we're going to set our goals this year. So we'll see if it works. Absolutely. We will see if we get there by the end of 2026. It will be interesting to see how this version has worked, because everything also is trial and error. And if you don't try other ways because you're fearful of it not going your way, I just don't think you'll ever get to where you need to be. I think all of these things are supposed to be adaptable for you, because nobody works in the same way. So it's got to be right for you. So if you've listened to this and you go, I don't think that's going to work for me. Okay, maybe it won't. But I just think this is a really good way to stay consistent and not burn out, because that is so easy to do as an actor, as a creative in this industry, because you feel like you have to be a million things to everybody. So yeah, and we will end it there. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one.